Hello guys, we are on the 8th game in the Blockades and Prophylaxis series, and this game was played between Zlatanovic and Brankovic in Parasin 2016, and the game goes c4, c5, knight c3, knight c6, g3, g6, then bishop g2, bishop g7, then a3, with the idea of advancing b4 and expanding on the queen side. Now d6, rook b1, a5. A risky move. b4 is stopped, but the b5 square is now weak. Now d3, bishop d7, knight f3, knight f6, castle shot, and bishop to g5. Played with the idea to provoke h6. The point will soon become clear. Now h6, bishop h6 and bishop to d2 and knight to here knight to e8, and after then now knight to e1, now rook b8, knight to c2 and knight to c7. Black intends to play b5 with comfortable play on the queen side, but now white goes knight b5. Here the planned and the typical b4 is solid. After ab4 and ab4 and cb4, now knight takes b4, and after the exchanges, knight takes b4, then rook takes b4. Now b5, cb5, knight takes b5, knight takes b5, rook takes, and bishop takes. Now queen to b3. White is slightly better, but without serious chances to play for a win. It would be unsatisfactory for white. So now white goes for knight b5. After knight takes b5, c takes b5, knight to e5. Here knight to a7 is too passive, and white plays a4, and if at all knight to d4, then knight takes d4. Finally we see the benefit of provoking the move h6. Black must take with the pawn. Now c takes d4. He can't take with the bishop because the h6 pawn is hanging. So now a4. White's initiative on the queen side should be faster than black's play on the king side or in the center. So after knight to e5, now f4, h3, knight g4, and h3 now, knight to f6, now a4. Suddenly black is lacking piece harmony and space and must play very precisely. White is planning to organize a pawn march on the king side. Now d5 by black, e4, and this move is a must. Black intended play d4, stopping the pawn on e2 and liberating the d5 square for the knight. Now b6. Here this b6 is not a good move. Here c4 should have been played with reasonable practical chances. After ed5 and cd3. Now knight to e3. The position is double-edged. If at all dc4, then de4, then knight to e3 also leads to an unclear position. But black plays b6. Here black probably decided to play passively because of the tournament standings. The game was played in the last round, and either a draw or a win would bring him the silver medal. So, but white on the other hand had to win. Now knight to e3, played with the clear idea to install the knight on c4 after eliminating the d5 pawn. Here e5, knight to e8, and then d4 is also promising. Okay, white plays knight e3, now d4, then knight to c4. After this move, the game is almost over. Black is without any real counterplay, and he can only wait and watch white's growing initiative on the king side, establishing a strong blockade on c4. White will also be the one creating threats on the queen side. Now knight to e8, f5, continuing to expand and preventing f5. White blocks the position. Now e5 by black. Black has the idea of playing g5 and bishop to f6 to be ready after white plays h4 and hg5 to recapture with the bishop. This would achieve the strategical goal of exchanging the dark squared bishops. Now h4. This move not only preventing g5 but also preparing bishop h3 with the idea to potentially exchange the light squared bishops. Now bishop to c8. Here if g5, then hg5, hg5, and queen h5, followed by transferring the rook to h1. So after bishop to c8, now bishop h3, knight d6, queen to b3. The c4 square is the most important square on the board, and it is extremely important to have continuous control over it. White must be ready to recapture with a piece and not with a pawn. Soon white's queen will dominate on c4. Later perhaps the bishop will, or even the king in the endgame, could use the route b3, c4, d5. Now knight takes c4, queen takes c4, g5, hg5, hg5, bishop to g4. This is an interesting position. White not only has a better dark squared bishop, but a better light squared one too. Soon it will dominate on the a2 g8 diagonal, paralyzing the c8 bishop and potentially exchanging it at any time. Black's position is hopeless. There is nothing he can do against white's initiative on the king side. Now bishop to f6, king g2, king g7, rook h1, queen e7, rook h5. White simply follows his plan of a king side invasion, while black's queen side pieces are without prospects. Now bishop to b7, rook b h1. Now rook to h8, bishop d1. Now a simple and logical idea. The queen on c4 only uses one diagonal. So the queen on and bishop should swap places. Now rook takes h5, rook takes h5, rook h8, rook takes h8 and king takes h8. Now bishop to b3, king g7, queen to c1, queen to d8, queen h1, queen e7. Here queen g8 was better defense. Still after queen to h5, king to f8, and then queen h6 check. White should win the game. If after queen g7, then queen to h5. Oh, bishop takes, and now queen d6 check, king f g8, and queen b8 check, king h7, and so after queen e7, and now queen to h5. Now bishop to c8. Now bishop d5, bishop d7, king to f3. Even the king joins the attack, the game is over. Now bishop e8, king g4, bishop d7, bishop takes g5. This is the most direct winning idea. White is not afraid of exchanging a good bishop for a bad one. After bishop takes, queen takes, and now king takes. Now f6 check, king h4, bishop to e8, now g4, king h6, bishop e6, zugzwang here, and king g7 and g5, bishop to f7, bishop takes, king takes, and b3, eliminating black's last chance, that is c4. Black resigned here. It is hard to find black's mistakes. It looks like his only bad move was the 20th move d4, after which black could no longer save the game. White's control over the important blockading c4 square and closed queenside left black without counterplay. White was unstoppable on the king side. So thank you all guys. I'll be meeting you in the next game.